coming this evening. I don't know who gave the idea that it was free food or anything, but we're going to have a presentation of sorts from Dale Richardson. He needs no introduction. He's in charge of facilities, maintenance, security, building and grounds.
Housekeeping and anything else that goes wrong.
You got a problem, you go to Dale.
That's right.
I'd like to introduce Assistant Chief.
I called him Marshall.
Marshall, that's a good one.
But he has a very important title.
All right,
He's a firefighter.
Dan Hogan.
Yes.
Both of these gentlemen have been to the other floor meetings, and I'm pretty sure that none of them came up with this many people. So we win for that reason.
We win.
I've had several of you give me topics that you'd like to cover in this session, one way or another. So I wrote them up in forms of questions and fed them to Dale to, you know, if nobody raises their hand, he's still got something to say. Otherwise, I'm gonna just turn it over to these two guys and let them go at it.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see all of you. It's good to have Dan here with me. We're just going to try to answer any questions you may have, share any experience we've had through the years for fire safety. Okay? So do we want to just start with some of their questions? Sure. Go that way? Okay. If smoke occurs in an apartment, burnt food, it does not set off the general fire alarm. Does it activate the sprinklers in the apartment? What event is necessary that causes the sprinklers to spray water? Heat is what's going to make your sprinklers activate. The smoke won't. If you're in your apartment and you burn something in the oven, your smoke detector in your apartment will go off first. It will notify us. We will immediately come to your apartment and see if it warrants 911. And there's been a couple times if the door is open and the smoke is heavy enough that it goes out to the corridor, then it'll activate one of the smoke detectors out here, and then the entire building will activate, and that's when Dan and his crew show up. Okay, so it's actual heat that will activate your sprinkler, fire or heat that will activate your sprinkler itself in your apartments, and you all have that in your apartment. So remember, that's one good thing that you have. This building, it has the flashing strobes, it's got the horn or the siren, and all of your apartments are sprinkled. So you're very, very safe, very protected. Okay? I want to share something with you that I probably have done before. I'm a kid of an independent living mother, so I always felt good knowing that there was somebody like us to take care of my mom. So this is my job, and it's also a personal mission for me as well. So I would put my mother here and know that she was safe. Okay. All right. Dan, you got anything you want to add on this question here?
No, that's really it. It is heat that's going to make those sprinklers go. Sometimes if just your smoke alarm goes off and it makes it into the hallway and those go off, we'll still be sent. So don't be alarmed if we come up just to check, even if we're canceled. We do like to verify that it's just a false alarm.
We have a monitoring service. So once the alarm for the whole building is activated, it contacts Tech Electronics. They immediately call West County Fire. And then they're dispatched. What do you think is the average time it takes for you all to get here?
Depending on what engine house is coming, typically it'll be the one in Town and Country at Mason and Clayton. It usually takes, when our dispatch center receives the call, maybe 30 seconds for them to send it out, and then we're usually out the door in about 45 seconds. And then depending on whether it's lights and sirens or not, if it's lights and sirens, from the time our dispatch receives the call, we would probably be here in 3 to 5 minutes.
Once that alarm is activated, it immediately goes to Tech Electronics, and we're notified. So there's a very, very small delay, probably just seconds, that they're notified. Okay.
Could I ask, how do you know what part of this big complex to arrive? Because it's got roads in and around. It may give you only 5 minutes to arrive, but how long to actually pick out what part of the building has the problem?
That's a good question. So first of all, when the alarm is sent to our dispatch, it says what building and what room it is. So we know that coming into it, and we're all really familiar, especially with the bigger buildings like this. And second of all, if we were only to get like just on the independent side, there is a panel that's just at the front door that will say where the alarm is as well.
Awesome.
And see, that's how I know where to report, is by looking at our fire panel. Because it'll tell me exactly what building, what room, so they're receiving that same information.
Awesome.
Okay, we have a very sophisticated system for your safety. That was one of the questions, so thank you. Okay? If smoke is detected in the halls or common areas, the fire alarm is sounded. Does it ring everywhere or just a portion of the building? If it's in independent living, the entire building will go into alarm. And you'll see the strobes, you'll hear the horn. Does everybody remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago when I set the alarm off for 3 minutes? Was that beneficial?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll be happy to do that again sometime. I think it's good for everybody to see those flashing strobes and the horns so that you're aware. You didn't hear it?
I didn't see the strobes.
Okay, you gotta come out in the hallway.
I did.
Okay, they're on the ceiling or at the end of the hallway, and it's just a very strong flashing light. And they flash and the horn for 3 minutes. 3 minutes is how long we kept it activated. Okay, now something I just did a couple weeks ago. It was if independent living alarm was activated, it was only activated here. I had it reprogrammed so it goes off in the community center. That way I hear it, okay? But it does not go off over an assisted living. If assisted living goes off, I hear it in community center, but you're not bothered by it over here, okay? So that was part of that question. I do know where it's at. I immediately go to the fire panel and see what our location is, okay?
What if you're not here?
You talk about me, not you as a resident.
Well, not yet, but no,
Okay.
you.
Saturday or Sunday.
I'm following you now. Well, we have security here. And I'm here during the daytime, or my maintenance staff, like Galen, Dean, all of us, we have pagers, we're notified. So we take care of you during the day to come see where the issue is. Overnight or on the weekends, our security officer, they're notified, and they'll be coming to the location.
And they know everything you know.
Yes. Yes,
Thank you.
yes, they do. All right. You got anything?
Nothing to add there.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, we got an elevator question. This is a tricky one. Traditionally, we were all, and Dan, you just jump right in on this one. I think we were all taught not to use an elevator during a fire alarm.
That is correct.
Okay. For your safety, that's what I recommend. Our elevators, they speak to the nearest smoke detector to that elevator. If the fire is all the way down here, that elevator will still operate.
Will still operate?
Yeah.
Ah.
It's best if you can use stairs. Okay. Our elevators, if the smoke detector is near the elevator and that elevator knows to leave the floor, let's say if it was on this floor and that smoke detector went off, it will go to a different floor and stop. Okay? But if the fire is all the way down at this end, this set of elevators will still work. I don't recommend it, but if you go up to it and it's working, that means the area of the fire is far enough away that you can still safely get to another floor. That was confirmed through Tech Electronics and MEI Elevator Company, the gentleman that maintains our elevators. I would like to experiment with that again when we activate your alarms another time.
Dale, can you turn the volume up just a little bit more, or point it more this way?
You bet. I feel like I'm yelling, so if I,
No, we have more people on this end, and they're
Okay.
picking up all the sound waves.
gotcha. Okay. Is that all right?
Dale?
Yes.
On the elevators, when we first moved in, we were originally told, you know, they will automatically go down to the first floor and open the doors. Obviously, the first floor is, you can get out of the building if you're on the first floor.
Correct.
Is that in fact what happens?
There's a lot of little scenarios, depending on which smoke detector or smoke alarm was activated. There's a lot of, well, what if it did it this way type of thing. Traditionally, elevators will drop down to the first floor and open up. But if the fire is down on the first floor, it's not gonna go down there, it's not gonna open up. It'll either stay there or it'll go up another floor.
So the message is stay out of the elevators.
I would stay out of the elevators.
Dale, can you repeat the questions?
Yeah, the question was regarding the elevators. Should you stay away from the elevators or should you use them? We've all been trained not to use the elevators. But if we're all right here, we don't see fire, we don't see smoke. Tech Electronics said we can't use our elevator to get down to an area of refuge. If it's all the way down to this end or vice versa.
What if you're already on the elevator? Will it go down and the door will open?
Yes, you will not get trapped. I asked that question as well. The elevator's not going to just stop. It's going to take you to a floor where there is not an smoke alarm detected, and it'll open up.
It won't turn into a toaster oven then?
No. Yes, sir.
Does that apply to the elevators far down there by the kitchen?
That is, those elevators down there are not going to be affected by this building. It is part of the other side. It's part of the assisted living. Okay? So even like in a power outage, if we lost power here, those elevators are on generators, so they still work. Okay? So if you're up on the third floor, you could go all the way down to the community center to that set of elevators as an area of refuge.
Dale, they didn't work when we lost the power. The last
Down
time.
here?
Yeah, the 40 West elevator was not working.
You know what? Your card may not be programmed for that elevator.
Well, it's just a button. I'm talking about,
I gotcha. Yes. Let me look into that, because I was told that it was on generator. Let me confirm that.
okay,
And I'll get back with you.
because I thought, I was told that.
You were told that too?
Yeah, it would work at all times.
Okay.
So we went down there to
Yeah.
and it just didn't do anything, so.
That's what I was trained as well. So let me double check on that one. Since you were told that and I was too, it makes me
So
question what
I
happened
was
to that.
pushing the button.
Okay. And it wouldn't go
No,
anywhere.
it wouldn't go anywhere, no.
All right, very good.
The question is whether the elevator is actually on a generator or not.
Yeah.
I will confirm that and send a notification on Uniguest,
Good.
so we can share that with everybody, okay? Yeah, that's important to me, I want to make sure. All right. Anything else about the elevators?
Clarify from our side.
Yeah, go ahead.
So recommended,
There you go.
So recommended from us is never going to be to get in the elevator. I know it works and it's a really smart system, but you just don't know. We always are going to recommend using the stairs. If you're not able to do the stairs normally, don't try to do them in this situation. You guys have fire doors built in and also like into your hallways, and also the best thing you guys can do is close your door and either go out onto your balcony or get to your window, and if there is the fire nearby, that's going to be the best way to notify us. And we have all the equipment to be able to get you guys down from your second story balcony or third story, wherever you guys are. It just, if you're not right next to that elevator, walking out into the hallway to seek an elevator can put you guys in a path of danger. And staying with your door closed is always going to be a very safe alternative. Yes, door closed, and so like if you're not able to do the stairs, that's nothing to worry about. Just to get our attention from the outside, But we also, if there was any sort of fire event here, we also will search every apartment that's in the affected area. So one way or the other, we would hopefully get to you before any sort of fire progression. And you guys also have a sprinkler building, so you have multiple fail-safes built in.
What would be the most logical starts in a fire, in a building like that? So it would start
I mean, there's a plethora of things that could, you know, whether it's some weird faulty electrical, if, you know, a space heater burning something up. There's a lot of things that could happen. But for it to progress more than just a small isolated area, there would have to be quite a few failures in different aspects. That's very, very unlikely.
Is there anything major that could happen that would just start and engulf the building?
You know, maybe some sort of catastrophe or some sort of planned event that somebody was trying to, but it would be very, very difficult. He asked if there was any sort of thing that could cause basically the whole building to burn and bypass like the fail safes. Very extremely unlikely. It would almost have to be like some sort of like arson, and it'd be almost impossible for all the fail safes that are built in to progress to the point where this would be fully involved or anything like that.
You know, with us being fully sprinkled, that is truly a benefit. And Dan, I appreciate you clarifying that. The question was regarding the elevator, people being, you know, having scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, that type of thing. So, but yes, best practice, just like Dan confirmed, stay in your room, go to your balcony, and then they'll take it from there.
Dale,
Yes.
you mentioned the fire doors. Do the fire doors automatically close, or are they manually closed by somebody on your staff?
No, they're on a magnet. So the minute the alarm is activated, that magnet releases and the fire doors close.
And are they permanently closed then, or can you still get through?
You can get through.
Okay.
They don't recommend it, and I'll let Dan speak of that. But after the system is completely reset, then that's when the magnet is active again, and we can open the doors.
Okay, well, what I'm thinking is if, you know, you're in one end of the building and your wife's in the other end of the building, I mean, and those doors shut, can you get to your apartment?
And I'll let you.
You can, but once again, we would highly advise against that. Even if you're not seeing smoke in your specific hallway, that means those doors are doing their job. You could walk out those doors and, you know, there could be smoke, fire, you know, something right there. It's best to just go outside or back into your apartment or somebody else's apartment and just keep that door closed. And then just try to, you know, if you're looking for your wife, either, you know, call or wait till there's like an all clear.
Can you describe the process you would use to evacuate these balconies? How would you actually get people off the balconies?
So he asked the process we'd use to evacuate off the balconies.
Please repeat his question and
He asked the process to evacuate from the balconies, how we would rescue people off the balconies. So depending on which equipment was here first, the closest firehouse there in Town and Country has a ladder truck with a 75-foot ladder. Soon we're actually getting our new fire truck with a 107-foot ladder on top. So depending on where you are in the balcony, right off the bat, we can position the fire truck and use the ladder on top of the fire truck. And we also have things called, it's like a Stokes basket, where we can put somebody in and have them lay in that, and then we can basically assist them down in the basket so they don't have to take any steps. All of our fire trucks also have multiple different length ladders, so we can get people off and evacuate via ladders too. We can also put Stokes baskets or backboards, have ladders next to each other and have people carrying down. So we have a lot of different options depending on where the balcony is and what equipment is there at what time.
You see these walkways here, that would be your main access for your trucks to get in to evacuate any of the porches or balconies that are in this, the deeper part of these insets, do you see that actually being able to occur? That these areas will accommodate your trucks?
It probably would accommodate the trucks, once again, if not. And so he asked if those walkways would accommodate our fire trucks. Even if they would not get our fire trucks down there, we have, like I said, we have all the ladders to where we have enough manpower where we could get people out just with normal, regular ladders.
The reason I asked the question is last winter, LSS had a commercial window cleaning company come in, and they're using a cherry picker to reach the upper level outside windows. Okay, they tried to come down one of these. We're on the other side over here. They tried to access the windows by coming down that walkway there. It got stuck in the mud. It took 2 days to get the thing unstuck. So my concern is that there may not be enough space to accommodate a lot of these larger equipment pieces.
Yeah, so he was talking about how the window cleaners got stuck. It would be kind of dependent on the time, and what trucks were there. Certain trucks are bigger than others. Obviously, if it's to the point where there's needing rescue, we're not too concerned about damaging things at that point, whether it's on the grounds or our own
I'm not worried
equipment.
about damage.
So,
That's the least of my worries.
and like I said, we do have multiple ladders where we can, whether the trucks can get there or not, we have the ability to, we train on it regularly.
You would not make any attempt to evacuate those that are wheelchair bound. You wouldn't be trying to remove the wheelchairs, the walkers, those other things, assistance needs that people have. You're just strictly gonna evacuate bodies and that's it.
Correct, and then, once we get people out, and at least out of the dangerous environment, that's when we can, which would be like alternate overhaul, we can enter back in, and get equipment that is necessary for people.
Thank you.
The scenario last year with the cherry picker, I threatened him, don't make ruts. And Bozo did it, but he did it, so they're free to do whatever they want for your safety, okay? The window cleaner, that's a different story, so. Yes, sir.
Does the railing on the porches cause you any problems?
No, that won't cause us any problems, as long as we get the ladders above that railing.
How do you get the people up to the ladder?
Yep, that's what we train on. We train on regularly. He's asking how we get people off a balcony onto the ladder. At our training tower, we have basically just like getting people out of a window, which would be the same thing as over the ledge. So there's multiple different techniques and strategies. With enough manpower, we can get people over and down to the ground.
Big people?
People of any shape and size.
I think that probably we have an audience here that is not necessarily ladder climbers. If that were the exit path, there would probably be a lot of people that would need extra help.
Yeah, he's saying most people don't want to climb a ladder, and that's, we don't expect people to. We either ways to carry them down, or like I said, we carry these things, they're called Stokes basket, which is like basically it's like a little basket with ridges where we can put people in and we can strap people so they can either kind of be assisted down, like sliding via the ladder in the basket, or carried down side by side, so.
Another question was, if you're in your apartment and you don't want smoke to draw into your apartment, well, how I want to answer that is, each of your apartments has its own HVAC system, just like you had at your home. There's not dampers or anything like that. Your air is just recirculating in your apartment. So it's not going to draw anything in from out here in the corridors necessarily, okay? But if you feel like you want to shut your unit down, you just go to your thermostat and turn the system off. But it's not going to be bringing in, it's not going to draw anything in from the corridors because you're just recirculating your apartment. There's no dampers for your apartments. Okay?
Well, wouldn't it come under the door?
Well, that's part of the other question too. Is it wise to put like a wet towel or something at the bottom of your door? Absolutely. It's not gonna hurt a thing to do that. Okay?
Dale, we had lunch today with one of the residents, and they were saying she lived in a multi-story apartment, and they had a fire in it. And what they did, I hadn't even thought about this, they duct tape around the door, because there's still space between the doors. And then they put wet towels, she put wet towels underneath, so the smoke couldn't come in. So I had never thought about duct taping around the door, but that's what they did to keep the smoke out.
He had mentioned that he knew a person that lived in a high-rise apartment complex, and they actually put like duct tape around their door and then a wet towel at the bottom.
You know, that's totally fine, but even if you don't do any of that, closing your door will be a huge lifesaver in that situation. Adding anything is only gonna be is only gonna help, but the most important thing is getting that door closed.
Another question we have here, it says, if residents flee from the building during a fire, where should you go outside? What do you think? We have patios, any safe hardscape outside, someplace where you feel that you are safe?
Yeah, anywhere out and far away from the building, probably maybe on the other side of, there will be a lot of fire trucks and ambulances here in a situation like that, but maybe like in the parking lot on the other side of everything. Typically at that point, there will be multiple chiefs and battalion chiefs. They'll likely have an area set up, and they'll be able to direct you to an area just so that everybody can kind of get a count and figure out who's missing, or, you know, if you come down and your spouse is still upstairs, you can notify somebody, you know, my spouse is in, you know, room 210, and they can, you know, send in focus efforts where they know that people are still in the building.
You know, at the end of every corridor, you have your staircase. Just go down, you've got concrete, just take that sidewalk, go as far as you feel you need to, that you feel safe. So there'll be people dispersed throughout the community outside around the building. Whatever you can get to safety first by one of the stairwells. Let's see if we have another one here. Here's a question here. When the fire alarm is ringing and it drowns out the announcements over the PA system, a lot of times Michelle will normally announce a code red with the location, okay? This person says that you cannot hear the announcement. A lot of times over here in independent living, you don't necessarily have the announcement because we don't have somebody at the front desk 24/7. So that's why I would stay in your room and go to your balcony, but they wanted to know, since you cannot hear the announcements of code red like you would over in assisted living, could that information be provided on channel 2493? We're not equipped to do that. Everything would happen so fast. Somebody would have to get into the system and type and send that. You don't want to wait for that. You want to get to your area. Just hear the alarm and get to safety. I really don't know how to answer that one because though it sounds good, we just don't have the capability for someone to be on standby to put that to where it goes across your TV set. That's why you got to listen for the horns and look for the strobes.
Have you established a time every week to test the alarm system?
Not every week. Now, for compliance reasons, I have to on the other side of the building once a month. Different location, different shift.
So we need to know that. We need to know when you're going to do it. That way we wouldn't worry.
Right. I'm happy to set times where you all know.
Right.
But then also, once we get in practice of it, it's good for people to just, it went off and you go, compliance reasons, we're not supposed to tell anybody on the other side, so that everybody's ready, okay? But I would be willing to work with you all if we would do some drills, maybe a couple times a year. I feel like you all are receptive to having some drills in independent living. Okay, it's not required, but I'm happy to do it. Okay? You said you'd feel more comfortable?
Yes.
I agree, and if you all are willing, you know, I can set times and, you know, we can do it however many times we feel is necessary. If we do it quarterly, we won't be doing it monthly, like for compliance reasons, but, you know, maybe twice a year or, you know, something like that to give you all that feeling of what you should do when the alarms are activated. Any other questions?
Regarding the arc sprinklers in our apartments, are they supposed to be in any special room?
They're in every room. If you look, you'll see the little sprinkler head. I've looked in the apartments. They're not in the bathrooms. They're in your living room, they're in the bedrooms, they're in the kitchen, and you have smoke detectors. When you go home tonight, look up.
Okay.
Okay, you'll see some that come off the side. You'll actually see the sprinkler head. Some of the rooms, you'll see like this flat disc you have right here, they open up.
Oh,
Okay?
okay,
So you have both kinds in your apartment. Yeah, but you're fully sprinkled.
okay,
Every room in your apartment, except for your bathrooms.
good,
Okay?
What about lightning strikes? How's the building built? Is there ways to detect lightning strikes or defer lightning strikes?
Good question. I don't know, but I will research that and get that info back. I will ask the architect, Lawrence, that designed the building, and the contractor who built it, and see what kind of info I get for you. Okay. And your name is what, sir?
You know just as well as I do. We're both Dale.
Or Dale. What else do we have here? Anybody else? Yes.
If there's an alarm went off and the heavy doors are closed.
The fire doors in the corridor?
Right.
Okay.
How does the fire department check the apartments?
So we can get through those doors just like any regular door. They're just built to withstand fire for a certain period of time.
Okay,
They don't lock.
okay,
You can get right through them.
okay,
It's just recommended that we don't.
yeah,
But they're gonna go right through them to get to you. Yes.
okay.
You're trying to go through the fire door, you don't know what's on the other side.
Yeah, yeah.
He's paid to do it anyway.
Lou, did you have your hand up? No? Okay.
I just said, feel the fire door.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Trying to get my attention or not. Anybody else? Anything else that Dan can?
Dale, this is not fire related necessarily, but when we lost power, 2 months ago, I guess?
Correct.
Again, if we just lose power, it's not a fire situation, lose power, again, is that elevator at 40 West, is that supposed to be operative?
That's what I'm gonna double check.
Okay,
See,
good.
because we both are understanding it is, but you said it did not activate.
It did not activate.
Yes, I'm gonna follow up on that.
And, and the other thing is the garage doors, one of them wouldn't work and the other one opened up, you could drive out.
I've replaced those batteries. They were original, and I found out that those batteries have a life of maybe, it said 3 to 5 years, but we're gonna stay up with them, so both garage doors have brand new batteries.
Okay, good.
And they're
Because-
self-charging.
Yeah, because if you lose power for some reason, you don't know how long it's gonna be out. We have a daughter that lives about 10 miles away. We'd be happy to go over there and stay with her for a while, so. I just need to make sure we can get out of here.
Right, you should be just fine. We immediately, the next day, I bought new batteries, and Galen replaced those.
You mentioned something about batteries. You say in each of our apartments, we have smoke detectors. They are battery operated,
They're hardwired.
hardwired.
So you brought a fire extinguisher with you, and I assume there are several through the building.
They are.
How do you feel about residents grabbing one and putting the fire out?
You gotta do what you gotta do. That's why I wanted to bring this here, because personally, I think everybody should have a small one in their apartment. Everybody should have one in their home. I think everybody should have one at least in their kitchen. You never know when you're gonna have a fire at your stove. And I brought this purposely because in all the years of doing fire extinguisher training, and they're in the cabinets, you see these white cabinets go down the corridor. You just reach in here, this band breaks right off. What you gotta do, you gotta pull this pin. Okay, it's called pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. You pull this pin, this will break. Your handle will not activate unless this pin is pulled out. Okay, so then you take your hose. I can't do this one-handed. And then you squeeze. And you go to the base of the fire and work your way up. This, anybody can, if there's ever a fire, you can pull the pull station. You can use a fire extinguisher. We want to do whatever it takes to keep us all safe. Okay? What's your thoughts of them having something like this in their apartment?
Yeah, that's always great to have. Those can do a lot for in a quick amount of time. Just be smart if you're going to use it. If it's a smaller fire on your stove or something like that, that's great. But if it's something big and major where like a whole room and stuff is on fire, that's not going to be enough. So that's best to evacuate at that point. I also don't recommend to go grabbing that and go searching for the fire. But that is great to have. If everybody has one in their, at least one in their kitchen or something like that where they know where it is, can be a huge help to you.
If it's just a small stove fire or something like that, it's good to have. Again, just like we tell our employees, don't try to be a hero, but if it's small enough that you could just like this and put it out relatively quick, it could help save everybody, by getting that fire extinguished quickly.
What can you tell us about what I've heard called fire blankets?
So he's asking about fire blankets. So a lot of that, some of that's newer for like interior stuff. A lot of that is made for like the wildland firefighters, where they're out in the wilderness and the fire's going. But they are starting to make them in stuff for around inside house fires and things like that. If you have one and they're certified, it's certainly not going to be a bad thing. We don't carry any, just because we carry, our fire trucks have, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 gallons of water on them and can do a lot more than just a blanket. But if you have a little fire blanket to toss over the fire or something, that works too, but it's not going to do as much as a fire extinguisher.
I've always wondered how effective are the ceiling sprinklers? Like if for some reason or other there is a fire that starts in a couch, for example, and you're not in that room, and you then actually come into the room, can you expect the ceiling to actually provide enough water that, just a smoldering and maybe even a live fire in the couch, it would be eliminated by the ceiling water?
So he's asking about the effectiveness of the sprinklers. They're incredibly effective. With modern day construction, in an average house, most people have anywhere from 3 to 7 minutes to evacuate, because the materials now burn so much quicker. With a sprinklered building, it's very unlikely that the fire will progress even outside of that room, and by the time we get there, almost every single time the fire is already out due to the sprinklers.
Very good.
You'll be wet.
That's okay.
Do fire extinguishers expire, and if they do, where do we go to check that they're full or working?
So she asked if fire extinguishers expire. Yes, they do. The ones here are inspected by a company every year, I believe.
Yearly.
And then once they expire, they're replaced. So I don't know if you would go to them to replace, or you can always get rid of your fire extinguishers at the fire department. We don't have ones to give out, but if you need to get rid of expired ones, we can always dispose of them for you.
They all have a gauge, and as long as that needle is on green, it's still good, it's active. You'd be surprised at how long they can last. A lot of times in an institution like this, they go by the age of it. Even though they're still charged, they replace it with a new one. Okay, but yeah, they'll all have a gauge on here. Okay. Yes.
If we use the fire extinguisher to put something out, does the fire department have to be notified anyway?
Not an independent living. I mean, if we had a small fire, we don't need to notify you on that, do we?
No, you don't have to if you don't feel it's necessary. But if it's to the point where you're using a fire extinguisher, we've probably already been notified. And even if we're canceled, we still usually come just to verify. And it's not a bad idea. We can use our thermal imaging camera and we can see if there's any hot spots and to make sure it didn't, go into your walls or anywhere that you can't see visually. Just because if something is just smoldering a little bit, we can leave and it can progress and get worse. So it's not bad to just call us to verify if we haven't already been notified.
And we cannot call an all clear. That's myself, administration, nobody can call an all clear. Once the fire department is here, they're in charge. And they will let us know everything's good. So they'll do a thorough search to make sure we're safe and ready to go. And that's a very good point. If we get to the point we have to use an extinguisher, we've probably already activated the alarm anyway. Okay. And then our extinguishers, then we call Johnson Controls. They come back and they replace it. It doesn't just go back onto the shelf. They bring us a new one. Anybody else? Yes,
Let's
ma'am.
go back over the initial presentation as far as the strobe lights are concerned.
You mean, just in general, the strobe light itself? I'll be happy to point one out to you when we're done here, so you know what to look for.
Okay.
It's on the ceiling, right here in front of us, right here.
Okay,
You see that?
yeah.
That is, it'll just flash
And when does that go off?
when the alarm goes off,
When the alarm?
okay? When the alarm is activated, fire doors close, fire department's notified, that flashes, and you'll hear the loud siren, the horn.
Is there an all clear siren?
No, it's a little bit different over here because I have the PA system over in assisted living where we announce an all clear overhead, okay? We do have a PA system here. I have not activated that since I've been here, okay? Traditionally, once the alarms go off, we're all clear.
Okay. Michelle makes an announcement in the hallway.
Exactly.
It's not always audible to a person who is far away from the door to the hallway.
Okay,
So you run to the door to find out what it was, you get there too late. What's the situation?
go to your balcony.
Everybody doesn't have a balcony.
And that's fine if you don't have a balcony. Just anywhere where you're in your room with the door closed. And same if you do have a balcony, and if you go out there and if there is a fire on a balcony, whether it's next to you, above you, below you, don't stay on your balcony. Just go back inside, and just make sure every door is closed. So it's not a big deal if you don't have a balcony.
We will try to announce it the best we can, but it's independent living, and you guys are basically, at times I don't wanna say you're on your own. We have a security officer, but he's all the way over on that side. See, it's different over there because we have somebody manning the station 24/7 to where they're by the overhead system. But you have your strobes and your sirens. That's why we just have to be proactive, observe our location, what's going on, and go to either to the balcony or go to the stairwell to safety. We're not always guaranteed that we're gonna have an overhead page over here, because we don't have somebody to man that type of, it's not required. Okay?
And like he said, he was correct. Once we turn that alarm off, that typically means everything is clear. We're not gonna turn that alarm off preemptively.
Dale, a couple of weeks ago, you ran the alarm here as a test. Did you learn anything surprising from that test?
No, but I didn't see as many people looking out their doors as I thought. I don't know if that's good or bad. I actually wanted people to see the strobes and hear the siren. That was my main concern, to start people to see visually what happens and hear what happens, see the doors closing, not necessarily go to their balcony that time around. I wanted, because people had made the comment, I've never heard it. And that's why I activated it. Okay.
We were sitting on a bench in the hall right underneath the strobe. What are the decibels when that goes off? Do you know? We left. We had to go out in the balcony.
What are the decibels? They're very high.
Yes.
You can't miss it.
Oh, yeah, I know. We left, went outside.
I was taking a nap, but it's hardly, I heard nothing.
You were out cold.
Well, I know, that time is.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, you know.
We know. The first week I was here, I was told, you do not come to my apartment during this time.
Never. You'll be sorry if you do.
I assume it's a given, but you have wire cutters or a hatchet for the screened-in porches? Yes.
Correct, yes. Yes, we do have wire cutters or tools to get through the screen.
All right.
That's no problem at all.
I will find another date and time to activate the alarms again in 3 minutes, so you all know.
After 2.
We're gonna do it at 1:30, but she's in a sound sleep. Yes.
Do you rate buildings in terms of risks? And if so, how do you rate this building?
Do we rate buildings in terms of risk? Not really. We have, our fire marshal does inspections and everything regularly. If there's any concerns or risks, it's sent over to our dispatch center. So when we are dispatched to any call, whether it be EMS or fire, those auto-populate in the call notes to alert us, but we don't have like a 1 through 10 rating or anything like that.
But our system really makes us safe. Everything being sprinkled, alarmed, strobes. Anybody else?
Any other questions?
I hear
Not a question, but if no more questions, I want to thank you for what you do for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Super Chief here, whenever we need him, he'll be coming with his little red fire engine and 79-mile ladder. But we appreciate you coming. Dale lives about an hour from here, so he's got a long ride home. He stayed late on his own time, and so I appreciate him staying and visiting with us too.
Thank you, guys.
Your safety is very important. All right, well, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, Chuck, that's a wrap.
Yeah.